Hey guys, what's going on? Karl here. We are testing out iPhone XS cameras today. So you can see here, I've got the XS Max and I'm recording right now with just the XS. If you're looking for photography alone, that's the only thing that you want, grab the XS. It's a smaller form factor, easier to manage, and of course, you can use one hand. So Apple does claim that the XS has a brand new sensor. It's still a dual camera setup of both 12 megapixels. The wide angle shooter is f1.8 and the telephoto is f2.4. So very similar specs, they've tweaked it slightly. Of course, let's get to the camera test because that's the best part, and kind of follow me along my day. And it's interesting, one of the biggest features coming to the XS is Smart HDR. So essentially taking multiple photos, stitching them together to get the best overall shot. The best lowlights, the best highlights, and combining them to have an optimal image. So for example, overexposed areas like this, I do find you have to manually tap on the screen to kind of lower the brightness, to recalibrate, and sometimes in photography, those extra seconds could make the difference of either getting the shot or missing it. I think this can be a tad bit more smart, easily fixed in a software update though, but when it does nail the brightness, I find the dynamic range is great. We're not losing too many highlights, and of course keeps a lot of that detail in the shadows. Feature coming to the XS camera has to be depth control, and that's where you can actively change the f-stop post photo, and that's for all portrait mode photos that you shoot. I find that the XS does a way better job than the 10 in figuring out what's in the foreground versus what's in the background. That's obviously a ton of algorithms and software working behind the scenes. I think though, if you're going all the way to f1.4, it makes things just a tad bit too soft, but anywhere over say f2.8, maybe even f3, all the way up to f16, you'll find the happy medium in between. It's a very fun feature to use, and I think that's my favorite new feature coming to the XS. So all those shots, like I mentioned, were taken with the brand new iPhone XS. curious to hear your thoughts. Overall, a very solid camera and one of the best that I've used. I'll of course be comparing this to the Pixel 2, which I think is the current king of the smartphone market, and of course the Pixel 3, which is just getting announced sometime in October, which I'll be there for the launch in New York City. Smart HDR and dynamic range is also awesome. It just really depends if you can snag that on auto and on the first time. Like I mentioned, you sometimes have to dial the settings in manually, not always the most useful. If you already have the iPhone 10, if you're looking strictly at the camera, perhaps not worth it unless you are a huge sucker for depth control, which I might be. But if say you have the iPhone 7, something 2 years older, I was just at dinner the other night with my parents. My dad has the iPhone 7. We took 2 shots in low light, and that's where you can really see the big difference in dynamic range. But as you've come to expect for a smartphone, especially one that can run you close to $2,000, it is very, very solid, as it should be. Curious to hear your thoughts though, and curious to see what other phones you want to see this tested against. Let me know down below in the comments, and hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to catch you in one of my next ones or in one of my vlogs. Peace.